Hello, this is Nefi Varela, and in this video, I'm going to talk about blood, okay? And many other things related, and this is the last question for this third unit. And, well, I'm going to start describing the composition of blood. I don't know if you have been in the plasma center. Before going to donate plasma, they take a blood sample from your finger. They take that sample and put it in a machine that makes it spin several times and separates the different layers of blood by centrifugation. Okay, the heaviest part of the blood goes to the bottom, and eventually, vice versa. So the heaviest part of the blood are the red blood cells. In the bottom, we'll see a red coat that we'll call hematocrit. This is gonna be 40 to 45% of our blood, so red blood cells. The other part is gonna be kind of like white, yellowish. These are the white blood cells, and this part is also named as buffy gut for its composition. And on the top, we have the plasma. The plasma is going to be formed by four main proteins. These proteins will be albumin, that's in the previous video we learned that is going to help with osmosis, B cup and I cup, also alpha, beta, and gamma. Beta proteins are going to be also named fibrinogen, and the gamma are going to also be referred as immunoglobulin. That is also known they're also known as antibodies. Okay, so they are going to help in our immune response. So these are going to be the proteins in plasma, and we make thousands of cells every minute of red blood cells. These are going to be created by a process named erythropoiesis. Even when it's not part of the question, I think that this is pretty good to understand the other part of the question, that is how red blood cells are removed from circulation. So I'm going to spend a fast minute to explain how it works. So in our blood, we have something named hematopoietic growth factor. Okay, so this is going to stimulate something named a molecule named erythropoietin that is gonna be released after sensing low levels of oxygen. This is also named EPO. This molecule is also named EPO. So HGF interacts with EPO, okay? And then this is released in, this is released in the kidneys, the EPO, okay? This is gonna go to the bone marrow, where erythropoietin is gonna stimulate hemocytoblast. Okay, I really like the terminology here because it helps us to understand more what's happening. Hemato is referring to blood. Poietin is formation. So it's the growth factor for the formation of blood. Okay, erythro means red. Poietin formation, so is the formation of those red blood cells. Okay, so this part is gonna start the formation of red blood cells. So erythropoietin is gonna stimulate hemocytoblast. Cyto means cells, hemo means blood, somehow iron, and blast means embryonic cell or cell information. So are gonna be red blood cells information, okay? And then we will create from these two molecules named proerythroblast that is gonna go under mitotic division to form a molecule named reticulocyte. Reticulo means mesh or net, and this is for the quality, like how they look like. So we're forming a mesh cell that finally is gonna mature and become a erythrocyte. Erythro means red, cyte means cell, red blood cell. Okay, so again, we go from erythropoietin that is going to activate this the hematopoietin factor, sorry, and then we're gonna activate this erythropoietin that is gonna go to the bone marrow, that is gonna stimulate hemocytoblast, that finally is gonna go under mitotic division, create reticulocytes, and finally reticulocytes, red blood cells. We create thousands of red blood cells per minute. And as much blood that we create is also the red blood cells we create is about the same amount of they die. Okay. So when they die, they'll release this protein named heme. Heme is a protein that has an iron on the middle. So if you see it, it's like here, and it has some bonds, and we have some other complex chemical structures. Okay, so heme is gonna decompose by a biochemical process to something named biliverdin. The way that I like to remember biliverdin is that verde is the word that we use in Spanish to say green. And biliverdin is going to be blue and green. Biliverdin then is going to become, again, for biochemical process, to something named bilirubin. Bilirubin eventually will become albumin, again, by also chemical process. Albumin is going to go to the liver, where it's going to be conjugated. Conjugation means putting two things together. So we're going to put glycuronic acid on bilirubin. Why? To make it soluble. Albumin, but its own is not fat soluble, but glycuronic acid, is soluble. So this is going to allow us to take it to the bile duct. In our GI tract, somehow, bacteria is going to eat the glycuronic acid and transform it to something named urobilinogen. As you can see by the name, is going to be formed to something that has with urea. So we are going to have 50% that is going to convert to esterobilin, that is dark brown, that finally will become feces, that is going to go in the feces. Okay, so if you have ever wondered why feces are brown, the answer is here. Okay, the other 50% is going to go back to the blood. Okay, eventually go to the kidney. We're going to take what we want, and the other thing is going to be released as urobilin, that is yellow, and it's going to be released in pee. So again, composition of blood, we have plasma, white blood cells, and red blood cells. Plasma has important molecules as alpha, beta, gamma, and albumin. Okay, and these are the two processes by we can create and destroy and reuse red blood cells. Okay, it has a lot to do this process of using the iron as a nutrient for our bodies. Okay, something important to mention: the kidneys play an important role in blood since they conjugate bilirubin. Okay, we mentioned that they put glycuronic acid in bilirubin, and they produce albumin, this protein that we have been talking in the last video, albumin. So it's going to be created in the kidney. For this second part of the video, I'm going to describe something named hemostasis. Hemo, again, referring to blood, stasis, to an stable state. So we have, most of us have ever deal with it. Actually, we deal with this all the time. A cut, a burn that can compromise, or anything else that can compromise our blood vessels. And this video, I'm going to explain the formation of platelets and how they're going to help us in blood clotting. Okay, so this is a platelet in its inactive form. Platelet has something named GPIG, that is a von Willebrand factor receptor. That's a hard word to say. Okay, so we're gonna have this code name von Willebrand factor. I'm just mentioning its components because it's gonna make us way easier to understand this process. We have here epithelial cells and a basement membrane in our membranes. Okay, so what's gonna happen? I have here the diagram and also have a cool explanation here. So we're gonna have damage, as I described before. Then we'll have this von Willebrand factor that is gonna interact with this membrane. Von Willebrand factor is gonna bind with GPIB, this receptor, on the platelets, and activates the platelets. Within the platelets, we're gonna have something named granules. We have dense and alpha granules. The dense granules are gonna be ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and calcium. Alpha granules will be DPGF. In case that you wonder what is that, is platelet-derived growth factor, and also another proteins named as 4 and 8. Okay, so the release of ADP and thromboxane will also activate other proteins. That's why, well, and this growth factor, something that I did not mention, will contribute in the formation of this another structure that we'll call thromboxane. Okay, so ADP and thromboxane are gonna help to activate another platelets. How do I like to see this? Imagine this is a platelet. Imagine this is another platelet. When a platelet activates, it changes its shape. So this is an inactivated, now it's activated. Now it has another shape, okay? Now this platelet is gonna cross by and is gonna attach here with the fibrinogen receptors and is gonna activate because it's ADP and thromboxane, okay? And they're gonna change their shape. So this is gonna be a process. It's not like they're attracting them. It's more like a glue that is gonna make these platelets that stick together. So that's gonna be the process, and then we're gonna have another one, and eventually we're gonna be forming like a clot with by several platelets. Okay, so platelets are gonna link, and fibrin is gonna mesh. Okay, so that's pretty much how it's gonna work. But platelets compared with love, they're not forever. Okay, eventually we don't want the platelets to be there, and also we don't want platelets to be forming randomly in our body because that can be compromising and create some problems as heart failure, right? It's not good. Okay, how's this gonna work? The platelet regulation is regulated by a process named fibrinolysis. Fibrinolysis, lysis means restriction. And this is making reference fibrinogen to the fibrinogen that is gonna play an important role in the attachment of several platelets. So it's the destruction of fibrinogen, okay? I love to break words apart. So fibrinogen, well, we're gonna have this plasminogen that is, and then endothelial cells will produce this name a tissue plasminogen activator PTA in the presence of fibrin. Okay, okay, sorry, fibrin is gonna make reference to the not to fibrinolysis, no fibrinogen. Okay, so this is gonna go to the plasmid and it's gonna degrade fibrin that eventually will dissolve clots. So in order, plasminogen, PTA, plasmid, is gonna degrade fibrin and dissolve eventually the clots, okay? So this is how these things are gonna detach, okay? We're doing great. Now, clotting cascade. These proteins, these factors are also gonna contribute an important role in the cascade, okay, of clotting formation. So we're gonna have something named the intrinsic and the extrinsic pathway. They are somehow independent to each other, and they merge, in a process named common pathway. So it's pretty simple. So we're gonna start this 2 that is going to become 2A. Then we have 11 that is going to become 11A. Then 9 is going to become 9A, and 10, 10A. Pretty simple. Then we'll have this in the extrinsic pathway named thromboplastin, also named as 3, and it's going to interact with 7 and become 7A. Something cool to know is that vitamin K will be a main resource to create this 7 factor, okay? 7, 10 is gonna interact with it, and then we're gonna form 10A, okay? And then we reach this common pathway. You can see we finished here with 10A, we finished here with 10A, and then the same is gonna happen here. So now we're gonna add 8 and 5. 2 is gonna interact with them and form 2A. 2A is also named thrombin, thrombin, and 2A, then we're gonna have 1 becoming 1A. 1 is named fibrinogen. Does that sound familiar? And 1A is gonna be fibrin. Okay, so as you can see, the relationship fibrinogen here to attach multiple platelets and in fibrinolysis is gonna help us to attach and detach these platelets. So it's an important factor, okay? Something important to know: medicine, other applications, healthcare, warfarin is gonna block this process of vitamin K, okay? So blocks vitamin K effectiveness in the liver, and vitamin K is necessary to make factor 7, okay, in the extrinsic pathway. So we have a drug with for warfarin, will be affecting and stopping the extrinsic pathway. If we have hepacin, it will block this intrinsic the intrinsic pathway again, and will block these and other proteins and affecting the intrinsic pathway. We'll have 2 ways to test this clotting cascade: the PT and PTT test. Okay, PTT for intrinsic. A good way to remember is like these are like arms and they're like hugging each other because they are intrinsic. Yeah? And extrinsic is alone, so it's in the outside. Okay, so that's pretty much it. When it comes to homeostasis, the formation of platelets, the dissolution of platelets, of clots, and clotting cascades. I think I mentioned it. Proteins, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if these are proteins, but I'm just gonna call them factors, okay? And factors, intrinsic and extrinsic factors, okay? And just the names start here, the important ones that we need to know, and their numbers. So that's pretty much it. This is the last video. I hope you like them all. And this is Nefi Varela. Wish me good luck.